Remember this political ad from then Senator Hillary Clinton back in 2008.
It's 3 a.m. and your children are safe and asleep. Who do you want answering the phone?
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
All right, well, our next guest says that neither Hillary Clinton nor President Obama answered that 3 a.m. phone call when it came to the terrorist attack on Benghazi. Joining us now is Senior Fellow at the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Great to have you in studio with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's rewind the tape a little bit to what the guys on the ground testified to in front of the House Oversight Committee. That they had asked before the attacks happened. They knew that targeted attacks on Westerners were increasing. They had asked for a bigger team of 12 more security guards to come to Libya. Do you think, had they gotten those 12 more in Benghazi or Tripoli, that this attack on September 11th wouldn't have happened?
The fabric would have been completely different. I mean, we're talking about, and I'm not trying to brag about this, the number of individuals on the ground could have taken on 150 had you had those additional resources. I mean, we're talking about essentially an 8-hour firefight, Allie, that could have been mitigated greatly from the beginning if you had better force. These guys, the two over there, as Gary talked about earlier, Gary Burnson talked about the fact that the CIA guys had to scramble to go over to assist these other folks.
They were doing it on their own. They were violating orders.
So the number you're talking about here would have made a huge difference in that firefight.
So the big question this morning is, what did they know and when did they know it? And we now know that there were 3 different times that they were told to stand down, these individuals to go in. As Steve mentioned earlier on the show, there was a guy with laser-guided targeting on where these mortar attacks were occurring, and they were told to stand down, not fire on these mortars.
Well, this is insane. There's a lot of mystery to that whole thing. What I'll say about this, and you open with the phone call being picked up and put, basically that phone call was answered, they listened to it, and they put it back down. That's the problem here. Everybody in Washington knew what was going on. Someone made the decision to not render aid. To me, that is the worst thing here. These guys on the ground were lasering something. They thought somebody was coming. So again, there's some breakdown between Washington, the folks in Europe and Italy who had to launch the forces, and the guys on the ground. And let me be very clear on this for the audience to understand. We have never in our history as a military had better, more precise communications in real time, plus the drone feed.
That's exactly right. And because they were actually talking on the phone to somebody, or radio or something like that, to somebody at the Department of State. The drone came about an hour later. Hillary Clinton would like to be president of the United States in 4 years. This suddenly is going to be a gigantic speed bump between her and the White House. But you say ultimately somebody made the decision not to send help, and you write that it was the President of the United States.
Everything I've heard, according to my sources, is that the President, after the first 10 minutes was told, once something called a critical incident report is sent in, the President has to be told within 10 minutes. I'm sure he was told. My folks tell me that after a certain point, after the drone was there, the President was watching like the rest of his national security team. The only person who can now move troops in a crisis like this, according to what I was told by my military sources on the inside, is the President. He has to give the go, no-go call, and it's his decision to make. Going back to Reagan had to do a similar thing in 1983.
That's right,
Grenada. He had essentially a curtailed timeline. He had to go through it, and there was a vote taken by his staff. The vote was 6 against, 3-4. One of the 3-4 was him. The SecDef, Cap Weinberger, said, don't go because we don't have enough intelligence, a great deal of uncertainty. This was 83. 3 years after the Desert One, where everything went wrong, great uncertainty, and Reagan said, this is what I was told, well, gentlemen, I'm glad my vote counts more than yours. We're going. And next thing you know, he went 6 hours later. They had boots on the ground.